I have been waiting 2 years for more news on this bike to drop. The last video I did in this series was in 2020. That's how long we've been waiting. So this is really exciting. What we're looking at appears to be a far more dirt-focused 390 Adventure. Is it an Enduro model? Is it an Adventure R? That's not really clear, and this is what this video is all about. We're going to go into what exactly we can see on this bike and where it's going to sit on the lineup and really what we should expect. So let's just jump straight in. So the biggest thing that jumps out at me is the 2118 wheel setup and spoke wheels. Thank God they've finally put spoke wheels on this little 390 motor. We've been asking for this for so long. The fact is, any bike worth its salt off-road, MX bikes, enduro bikes, and dirt-focused dual sports, they all have spoke wheels and a 2118 setup. The fact that KTM have finally put this on the 390 platform, this does signify that this will be the most dirt-focused 390 we have seen from KTM, and that's reason enough to get excited here. But there's plenty more on this bike that is worth getting excited about. It looks like they've gone for a steel trellis frame here. Now in these images, it does look very janky and very haphazard, and that's because this is a very early stage prototype. So they don't even bother painting the frames on these early prototypes, purely because they change the frame so often. There's no point in making it pretty, and they do it this way because they can take pieces off, re-weld it, and change it as is needed. So don't get too caught up on how janky it looks. This is purely a very basic prototype. The fact that they've chosen a tube steel frame here, some of the articles are saying that this is a choice to increase rigidity and help in handling off-road. Of course, that will remain to be seen until we get a leg over it. Who knows when that will be, but it does seem like KTM really are beefing this bike up in order to perform better off-roads. A redesigned frame is a great sign that they're really putting effort into this design. It does appear that we have new suspension. What suspension is it exactly? We have no idea, and nor does anyone reporting on the bike, but they have said it does look like there is a ground clearance difference between this and the existing 390 Adventure, and the eye test, it does seem that the suspension does look a little bit different. I really think that for this bike to be done justice, it does need upgraded suspension, and it does seem like this is the case. This is a completely different aluminium, or aluminum as you like to say in America, swing arm at the back. Some articles are saying this is to give better clearance, others are saying this is to allow it to be cleaned better and it won't get so gunked up with crap. Whatever reason it is, going for a traditional dirt focused swing arm is a great move in my eyes. Are we looking at a KTM 390 Enduro, or are we looking at a KTM 390 Adventure R? Well, it's hard to tell because media outlets are reporting about a 50-50 at the moment. Some are saying Adventure R, some are saying Enduro. Gun to my head, I would say this looks more like a 390 Adventure R, but it really depends on how KTM market this. But it still does look aesthetically a lot like the 390 Adventure with that headlight setup. And we know KTM have traditionally always had an Adventure and an Adventure R, so it would make sense for KTM to do that. Of course, that could be completely wrong and this could be the 390 Enduro, but if it was the 390 Enduro, I think I would want them to go a step further in how hardcore off-road this was. And I think it would be a mistake to make it look like a 390 Adventure and call it an Enduro. If they were going to do an Enduro bike, they should make it look like a smaller version of the KTM 690. The key needs for me is weight. The current 390 Adventure Dry is 158 kilos. It's not egregiously heavy, that's fairly good for a little adventure bike, but I think if they're making even the Adventure R, I would want to see lightweight. If they're calling this an Enduro, I want to see significant weight differences. I would like to see something in the 140 category if they call it an Enduro. Hell, even if it's called the Adventure R, I would like to see a significant drop in weight. It would be great if they could get it under 150 kilos, because the less weight you have to pick up and the less weight you have to manhandle through the tight stuff, the longer and further you can ride. I really like the engine. Like I've said, I have ridden the bike, but I did think it's a little top end revvy. It really doesn't have a good bottom end response, especially for the dirt kind of riding where you do need a little bit of low end torque to tractor through stuff. I thought that the engine was lacking in that department. So I really hope that KTM have tuned the motor to give more low end performance. If they have to sacrifice a bit of top end, that doesn't bother me. I don't really care about peak horsepower at 11 billion RPM. What I'm focused on is good all-round performance over the rev range, and particularly with torque, I'd like to have a meaty amount accessible low in the rev range. I hope KTM have focused on that as well. But I'll be honest, if they are marketing this as the Adventure R, I don't think they will address that problem because they'll want to be focusing on peak horsepower, because that's what it's all about in the adventure bike market, is showing how much performance you have. So that'll be peak figures, which a lot of people gravitate to. At the moment it goes underneath, and that means sacrificing ground clearance. Of course the bash plate is going to give it some protection, but we all know that even a bash plate can be bent, and when we're riding off-road we want maximum ground clearance. Personally, I would like them to grab that headlight, put it in a cannon and fire it directly at the sun and never talk about it again. And I would like them to see, if they do go with the Enduro name for this bike, for them to follow the 690 look. I would like to see those spoke wheels be tubeless as well, but if they are tubed, I'm not too fussed. I've always had tube wheel dual sports. If I get a puncture, I'm just going to change the tube out. But if they do market it as an adventure bike, that might be a nice feature to have. This looks so early stages that this probably won't even be a 2023 model bike. Components will change drastically by the looks of how early this bike is, and that means that development is probably going to be quite a long process. I would say that this at best will probably be late 2023, early 2024. Deep down in my little dual sport heart, it doesn't look quite hardcore off-road enough for me to really think that KTM could call that an enduro bike. When you stack that up next to the KTM 690 Enduro, it really doesn't look as serious for off-road. We'll see how this all goes. I'd love to know your thoughts. What are you wanting out of this machine? What items do you want on the bike and what do you not want on the bike? And what are you hoping for, an Adventure R or an Enduro? And as always guys, don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.